first most important, we need to live life with happiness, Then we hope everybody to happy, but we don't know how to do work with the happiness. So key to happiness is some few sort of method practice that is not uh, anything about religious, you can say. So it's much easier to practice, and you can share this with other people. So the first most important part is when we have sadness or not so comfortable, what happens is the space of your mind is actually slowly getting smaller, shrinks. What happens is become more and more slow and more small, very tiny, very narrow. Then it's almost like your mind start focusing the problem in yourself. You're just saying, "Oh, look at me, unfortunate. Look at me, I'm so much suffering." And you just go on and on, and that actually become very unhealthy, unhappy, and very creating much more uncomfortable within yourself. So because of that reason, first most important approach is, I usually say, creating a space. Creating a space is takes like the method 5 minutes to 10 minutes that you feel do it. And I tell people that usually helps that so much of you gain more space in your mind, you have much more space, much more openness. So to creating space is the first most important in key to happiness. So you can practice that kind of method in morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you need it, whenever you want it, you can apply. So how you do is you can close your eye or you can open your eye, you know you can have some visual to the sky that you have. Can be, sometimes good weather time, blue sky, sometimes it's gray sky, doesn't matter which sky. Try to see the space of the surrounding that you have. Look at the sky, just imagine, just think, just feel, and imagine that whole surrounding, up and down, four directions and around to your body, everything is space, and you actually see the space, space. So that is the first most important. You need to feel the spaciousness. Now you start focusing on that, try to feel the spacious. What actually creates is you start feeling spacious. So after that you feel the spacious surround you, your surround. You need to feel the spacious. You just go in and you imagine and you feel. You just do like this to hour, minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to 5 minutes. Then you start really feel spaciousness, very vast surround you. When you feel, you just maintain. Maintain means you just be present as spacious. You don't need to be feared that you could fall or you could be disappeared. Whenever you happen like that, actually you're not going to be disappear. You're not going to be fall. So you don't need to go into the extra feelings and fear. What really need to be done is to create the space to have much more space in your mind. Four directions and up and down, everything's creating space. And that kind of method really is effective because really helps your mind have more space, not so much narrow, not so much into how to say narrow and focus and go into again and again and that same sequence and same narrow and tiny. You don't need to go into that. It's totally opposite, totally spacious. Then that way what happens is your mind, your consciousness, your understanding actually, how to say, become much vast. So your understanding become much vast. So the benefit is, one of my friend told me that when I told him that creating space, he says, Rinpoche, he did the creating space on the way to going to university, and he says it really helps me to understand other people's perspective. He really feel his understandings grow. He much space, much more vast. So that is the first approach I usually teach people, that you really want to be happy, you need to create space in your mind. Don't be too narrow and too much of, how you say, focus, narrow, repeating, and how does it, that kind of feelings and thoughts. And people are telling me, is this a meditation? I tell people, it's not like meditation that we usually everybody do. I'm not telling you to focus with something. I'm just telling you to think and feel the spacious, not to stop the thinking. I'm just saying to you, think how much you can. We are very good at thinking, so think and feel the spaciousness up and down. Imagine you're like a flying, and you just moving in up, in the sky, have that kind of spacious. When you expand that kind of thing, the result is you need to see your mind expands too, creating space, and just then maintain in there. When you feel upset, angry, in the office work, you have a little bit of feel very tight, that kind of feeling, you just try to remember the spaciousness when you've done this practice. Or you want to have time, you can go to toilet or somewhere that people don't look at you crazy, then you just create space, just for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. And the position of body you don't need to control. So you can want to stay as a meditation position is okay. Whatever position you have, you can be in that. You don't need to have one, how to say, traditional position that you need to stay with, creating space. So the key to happiness, the first most important in our emotion level, we have very narrow and tight and very much of, how you say, focus to yourself, very narrow, very tiny, no space. So that's why creating space really helps you to much more relax, much more breathing space, and less actually emotion to arise, negative emotion to arise. For example, like anger. Now the second key, the second method I usually like to tell people is saying that you really need to see the way of thinking, the way of how you actually are. Some of us, we can be a very pessimistic, we can be very optimistic, or we can be a very much of criticizing people, seeing only bad things and people's bad qualities. You just repeat that. So you really need to see, like for example, like me, I know that talking is not good. Sometimes I spend like hour, 2 hours just gossiping things. It doesn't really helps me anything. It's just enjoying for a few minutes, but you don't have no much result. Just do it. Basically, you really need to see what you like to do, how you actually are, how you usually engage those things, thinking, feeling, how you judge, how much pessimistic, optimistic, or how much angry person you are. You really need to actually observe and see. Observe actually means that you need to see not as a blaming yourself, but try to see how you actually functions the emotions. When that actually is very important. And when you see, I just want to tell you with that, we have called, I usually say this, the word called blind spot of emotions. Blind spot of emotion actually means, I have a friend, that we have been discussing, and he tells me, oh Rinpoche, I don't have no much anger now. Really, really meditation helps me. Oh, I don't have no anger. And his wife, in the kitchen calling him, and he didn't hear well, and he says, what? What are you saying? But at the same time he says, he look at me, he say, oh Rinpoche, nowadays, my anger is really less, not very much, no much problem. So what actually happened is he irritated himself just a moment, and he really little bit angry on that, saying he didn't hear what his wife is saying, from kitchen, and he reacted with anger, with shouting her back, but then he looking at me saying he doesn't have no anger. So what happened is, it not mean he doesn't have, but what really happened is he didn't see himself he has the anger. He sees anger as a different way, not as an angry or punishing people or beating people, but he have this kind of aggression within himself, or uneasiness within himself. That is actually anger. So what I really wanted to tell you is, we need to see our own self, that don't go into the blind spot. When you're a really stingy person, you need to see it. Yes, you are. When you are really much of careless person, yes, you are. So I have many things problem like myself. So what I do is, first I try to observe, try to notice of how I think, and most important is, actually the main part of the practice is, try to find out different ways in different time. Do I really have anger? Do I really have clinging? Do I really have jealous? Do you really have ignorant? When I look different time, different ways, I can see that actually I have. And so you can actually overcome the we call the blind spots of emotion. So this is very important. People are telling me, oh Rinpoche, I want to be happy, I want to be stressless, I want to think positive, what I should do. I tell people, don't go into that first, that you really want to do this. Just say, first create a space in daily basis. How benefit there are. I did this kind of creating space with some people in Mexico. I'm telling you, we did like 10 minutes. Many of them, they actually feel the spaciousness just by sitting in the 10 minutes meditating on that. I don't use at all about actually I did just wrong now. I use a word of meditation. Actually I don't call it as a meditation. I call it like exercising, relaxing your exercise yourself, and relax and imagine the spaciousness of surrounding of your body and this vast of the spaciousness. I usually tell that much, you know. So the first is actually what? Creating space. The second is actually what? Knowing your function of your mind, seeing what kind of blind spot you really have. That is actually the second steps. Now, the third step, I usually tell people that you really need to have compassion within yourself. You really need to have compassion. Compassion is not just a simple word that we call a pity. Somebody you see, somebody is a little bit lower fortunate than you, less food, less house or clothes or money or very hunger like that. You try to say, oh poor guy, I really pity you. That is not a compassion. Compassion means understanding. Compassion means wish that you really, I want to see you are free from the suffering. But then it starts from within yourself. Like imagine you work very hard. For example, one time my attendant, my helper, they working a lot about my dishes, and one dish is not clean, and I told him, why you didn't clean that dish. We have, you done so many times, but I need to tell you every time to clean up the dish, but you didn't do well. Why you didn't do well? So one day I decide myself. I went in the kitchen and I tried to work like him, try to clean up little bit dishes, not like all of them, but try to wash. So I saw how difficult that is, how forgetting that is, how stressed that is. Like I need to clean up. Rinpoche going to be scold me. So I don't do. I have so many things. So I saw after that. Then what happened is I gained compassion. I said, oh, okay, it's okay. Don't worry. One day little bit problem. Please do well. Okay. Tomorrow you can clean up little better than this. So I don't react with anger. I don't react by judgment. I just react by compassion. I just being polite. I say whatever I need to say, what really I want, but say very nicely, but genuinely from heart. So the compassion is actually, I would say like more understanding. Either you have husband and a wife or anything, family members and friends and office working, have compassion, understanding. That really deep down compassion is what really makes you are suffering, what you really makes you are angry, upset, depressed. That you check yourself. Exactly the same way, sometimes more to all the other people, sentient beings, included human beings in this earth. Poor guy, these people. Like for example, in the working community, you working, one of your colleague is not very happy to you, and he look at you saying, "Why you all the time making problem with me? You cannot be happy. Why your face is so bad all the time looking at me so like this? You cannot keep your eye in your trouble." Of course, our reaction is going to be very bad, angry, unhappy, you know. But then you can look at different perspective, the perspective of compassion, saying, "Poor like this guy, he's not happy with what he told me. He just scolded me. You think he going to be happy? No, he going to be more unhappy because he scolded me, isn't it? Because he's angry. So he going to feel guilty and regret and 1 hour or 2 hour whenever the anger goes away. So what actually happens is you have compassion. Now you look much deeper than that. Why actually he's very unhappy is in the house he actually fought with his wife. He's very unhappy in our house. Now he came into office. He's very unhappy and he show on you. So that's why that happens many times in our life. That's why I'm telling you, you want to build up compassion, you want to build up your connection, relationship, and to any other things in the family or work or whatever you want to do, start from compassion. Try to understand the feeling and understanding. That is very important. So the real compassion, real happiness, I really want to tell you, is starting creating space, looking at yourself, what is the emotion function, the blind spot, learning. When you see it, you're not doing the mistake again. Number thirdly, having more understanding, more compassion, more this kind of positive act is very important. Now I tell one thing, this number 4 key, actually is more like advice to you. Like I try to practice myself. The contentment is very important. Because our mind wants. All the time we have a greedy to get. But we never feel full. We get a shoe today, 1 month later I saw a better shoe than that. I try to get the better shoe. That happens to everybody. So contentment means what? I feel I'm a very fortunate. I have a very nice house. I have very nice shoe. I have very much have this. I feel very content. I feel very happy with that. And you feel like, yes, I'm enough with that. I'm very content. That creates you full of your life. Your life is completed. You feel very much of more like you can enjoy your life, not as a to do something to get something that you never you don't have it. You feel like you're working so hard and your whole life working for so hard. For what? For something that you need to get it. So you can create the contentment that you feel like, I'm fortunate to get this. I'm very happy with what I have. I'm really enjoying. You don't feel it. Contentment doesn't matter. You just create mentally and think like that again, repeat. Then you're going to have more contentment. Okay, so that is the 4. The 5th, very simple. Enjoy yourself, love yourself, care yourself, physically, mentally. Same way how you love yourself, try to love others. And then more important than that, how you say, practice more love, caring, more loving kindness. And slowly you're going to see, you see getting better of your happiness, more joy. So the real happiness comes within yourself, practicing loving kindness. Then by action. I'm not telling you just doing this you're going to be perfected within a week and you're going to be so happy and you're smiling everybody. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm saying you're going to be much positive way of thinking. You're going to see gradually, week and month, you're going to see different in your life. So this is a simple topic about key to happiness. There's some key, but you need to practice. The first, creating space is the one. Second, try to see the blind spot and try to speak with the group. What is the blind spot I have? What I done, what I saw the problem within myself. Okay, I saw it. You share with your group. That way you see more clearer. Number third, is contentment. First is creating space. Second is watching your emotion, seeing. Number third is more compassion, understanding. And you talk about that again. You practice a little bit compassion. You imagine somebody in front of you, and if like mother or father or friend or somebody, practice the compassion, and you share with your family. You talk to your members, sangha members, share with what you've done, how you practice, what your result is. And then number four is actually uh, contentment, and go with the contentment. Talk about, I'm very fortunate, think about it. Contentment was, I'm feeling very well. The problem is all the time we want, so make you sure whenever you want more, you feel empty. Whenever you think you have it, and you're very happy what you have, you feel very rich. Whenever you think you need more, you're poor. Contentment is very important. The last one is what? More loving, more enjoy. Life you enjoy. Smile, laugh. You make love other people. Be genuine from bottom from your heart. You do like that slowly. You are not genuine now. Doesn't matter. You try a little bit slowly by slowly, like a flower. You need to give some sun. You need to put some water. Slowly grows. Exactly. You think I'm a very much a happy guy? Before no. Now I'm a little bit more happier. Why? Slow, be genuine. From bottom from your heart, be yourself. Don't lie to other people. Don't lie to yourself. The worst part is lying yourself, selling yourself, wasting yourself, cheating yourself is the worst. So be more loving, be more kind, more enjoy yourself more. So this is the usually the key of happiness. You can see 5 key to happiness. Okay, thank you very much. Sarva Mangalam.